This Parent Connection video that we're shooting is just sort of my thoughts or what Jeanette and I have done as parents that has seemed to work for our kids, what has helped us as parents to sort of stay on task and on track. There's so many distractions, so many things going on around you as a parent that sometimes it's helpful to find a way to stay on track for what you really want to instill in your children. Now, I'm hesitant to shoot this video because I don't want you to in any way think that Jeanette and I have raised kids that don't have issues and don't have problems, because they do. They have had them in the past, they have them now, and I'm sure they'll have them in the future. But we've come to understand that as parents, our job is to do the very best we can to instill in our kids what we value, what God values, and then trust God for the rest. So I'm going to share with you over the next couple of minutes the 5 things that early on in our kids' lives, Jeanette and I, decided we wanted our children to leave the house with. All of our kids are gone, they're out of the house, but we decided we want them to have 5 things when they left our house. The first of those things is we wanted them to know who Jesus was and how much they were loved by him. Now, I want to be clear, that's a little bit different than wanting them to know right from wrong or morals or the 10 Commandments, all of which is extremely important. But what we wanted them to understand is the grace they've received in Jesus Christ. That when they fail, when they don't do what they should do, they are loved. And we wanted them to understand that their identity is in Jesus. It's not in their performance. It's not in what they do. It's not in how good they are. It's in Jesus. It's in his death and resurrection on the cross. And so a lot of our conversations as we got to have dinner together were conversations about Jesus and about his grace and how much he loves each of us. And so we wanted to make sure that our kids left not just with religious training, but with Jesus in their lives. The second thing that we wanted to set out as a goal for our kids when they left our home was that they would be able to deal with success and failure. Success is one thing when things go very well, and they to learn how to deal with success and still be able to stay grounded and stay within yourself and understand and put things in perspective. And then we wanted them to learn how to deal with failure, because whether they fail while they're still in your home or not, they're going to fail sometime in life. And everybody needs to be equipped to know how to do that. And one of the things that we discovered to help them to be able to deal with success and failure is to help them understand that their identity was in Jesus. It wasn't in how good they were at something or whether they had failed at something. Their identity, whether they were very good at it or not very good at it, was in Jesus. And that's where they found their identity, or at least that's what we tried to instill in them. And one of the other things that we really tried to do with our kids is when our kids weren't the star, weren't the best, weren't the number one kid on the team or in the group, we wanted to instill in our kids the ability to be happy for other people's success. So we wanted them to know who Jesus was. We wanted them to be able to deal with success and failure. And thirdly, we wanted them to have a compassionate heart for others. In other words, we wanted them to be aware of how other people felt, how their actions made people feel, how things in life made people feel. And so, again, a lot of our conversations when we would have dinner or we'd be in the car would be about, how do you think that felt? What do you think that felt like to them? And it really, our goal was to try to help them become people who understood what other people were going through. The fourth thing that we tried to instill in our kids was an understanding of a life of service. So anytime we could, we took our kids with us to go down to feed the homeless, or to go on trips around the world, or even to just serve people within our neighborhood, to do things without expecting to get paid for it. Now look, we're going to talk about that in a minute, but to just live a life of service, to understand that part of our being, part of who we are as people of God is to serve others. The last thing, or the fifth thing that we wanted our kids to understand was the value of money and work. So we always had conversations about money, and it was usually never, well, we just can't afford that. It was more, if we do that, then we can't do this. And tried to get them to understand the value of money and of work in life. And so our kids early on got jobs and earned their money and had money to spend. And we've also discovered that one of the great things for our kids was, as they got older, to go through the Dave Ramsey series. And that's a whole other thing. But it teaches you about money and what money means and how to use money and how to value that. So those are the 5 things that Jeanette and I decided when our kids were young we wanted them to leave our house with: to know who Jesus was, to be compassionate, to know how to deal with success and failure, to live a life of service, and to understand money and work, that's what it takes in life. I encourage you, your 5 won't be the same. Maybe you'll have 3, maybe you'll have 7. They won't be the same, but I encourage you as parents to sit down and say, what are the things we want to make sure our kids leave home with? And then put action plans to that. If it's to let them know who Jesus is, then talk about Jesus. Get into the Jesus Storybook Bible or devotions together. If it's to teach them about money, then have conversations with them about that. If it's a life of service, then involve them in as much of the service as you can. Even if it's just with a neighbor, take your kids along so they see you serving someone else. I encourage you to do that, because it is a great gift to be able to say at the end of the time your kids are at home, we did what we wanted to do with them. I hope this video is helpful. If you have questions, feel free to contact me at kevin@anthemcross.org. Thank you.